I mean, they were in Miami, and it's been snowing feet and feet of snow here for the last 6 weeks. Sure. I mean, let's just move on from it. We'll see how they play the next game. If that's a dud, then I'm a little more concerned. But I don't know. If a bunch of 22-year-olds throw up a dud in Miami, whatever.
But they're in Vegas in what, a week and a half? I mean, do we chalk that up to a loss as well?
Well, I'm going to be at that one, so hopefully they show up to that one. That'll be exciting if they do. But I don't know. I'm going to have a hard time blaming them because I'm going down there to golf and get away from the winter too, But I think it's just going to be more of a growing process because we're not a veteran-laden team anymore. Maybe they are. I don't know. Maybe Parisi and Suter and Stahl and Foligno, those guys got to hold court and get her done. But I just don't know. I think we got to switch our mindset around the team because they're not the team that's been to the playoffs for the last however many years.
Mike, you and I tweeted about this a couple weeks ago, or back and forth about it's tough right now for me because I kind of feel like what I want for the rest of the season is looking ahead to those 4 to 6 maybe good centers in the top 10, 12 picks of the draft. I kind of feel like what I want is close competitive games that maybe end up in a overtime or shootout loss or a regulation loss, but that's not the Florida game, but where they just squeak out the loss kind of thing, and then get us in a position to maybe get one of those centers. That's a hard thing to root for, so I'm not rooting for that. But if that were the outcome, I wouldn't be disappointed. What do you want out of the season at this point? The rest of the season at this point?
It's hard, Before they went on this streak, I was completely all in that boat. I mean, let's just finally just have one bad season. The Avalanche are going to likely get Jack Hughes. They've got Cal Maker coming. There's 2 more superstars to their lineup. We need a young center. You just got rid of Granlund, so you got some shooters. Now we're going to need somebody that's young that can feed them the puck. In this draft, I don't know a ton about it, but from what I've read, it is center heavy, especially in the top 10. And, a week and a half ago, I thought let's perfect. Let's get like 7 and let's grab one of them. Then they go on this run, and it's hard to root for them to lose.
Right.
No, you don't want to do that, but at the same time, you don't want to be left in the middle again. And I feel like that's where we may end up. And the other thing with this year's draft is the East, at least before we went on this run, the East has a lot more points than us. Mm-hmm. Right? So even if you finish 9th in the West and just missed the playoffs, you're likely still drafting at 8 or 9 because most of the East, other than the couple of terrible teams, still have more points than you.
Right.
So I would love to see us grab one of those kids, but I don't know. It's tough to go back and forth on.
Right now, we're sitting in the league rankings at 18th overall, which means that Buffalo's in the 10th worst spot, and they are 5 teams below us. Arizona, Colorado, or 4 teams below us. Arizona, Colorado, Florida, Buffalo are below us. So, but the difference is 5 points, right? They're sitting at 69. We've got 74. But we're also in the second wild card position. I don't know, Tony. What do you want to? What do you want the rest of the regular season to happen here?
I mean, I might be nuts, but with the young talent they have now, with that influx, I would like to see them get those young kids some playoff experience, like get Donato, Cunnin, Eck, those guys 1 round maybe. And I just don't. I don't know if there's enough high from at least what Russo says. Like, there's not just an absolute stud in the draft. Maybe Jack Hughes is it. I don't know. But he's not a Connor McDavid. He's not the other, like the absolute game breakers, right? So if you're going to tank, you want it to be in a season when you can get a Kane or Taves or McDavid, something like that. So I'd like to see him get the kids some experience, hopefully in a playoff environment. Maybe they have a little bit of success, take a team to 6 or 7 games, and we can go from there next year. I mean, If the Avalanche get a couple top 10 picks and they take 2 centers, great, because we know they screw that crap up. Like, they've been taking top 10 people for the last 10 years, and we still whoop them. So
why don't we ever talk about, we finish in, 14th worst, so we finish with the 14th pick, let's just say. Why don't we ever talk about trading up?
Yeah.
It's never really discussed. It's always, well, if you finish in 14th, you're picking 14th, and that's not in the money picks, right? Even if you win the lottery, you're moving up whatever, I don't know, the maximum number you can move up is 4 or 5 or whatever it is. But why don't you package that and a whatever and move up to, you don't have to move up to first. And
does it happen a lot in the NHL? I mean, I don't follow the draft like I
kind of feel like it doesn't.
But it doesn't seem like it does.
A couple years ago, I was watching the draft, and I was extremely annoyed. I think it's the year we took
Tuck, maybe?
It might have been Tuck. No, it might have been Eck. I can't remember. I mean, aside from Brock Besser, I really wanted us to go after Connor from the Jets. He ended up going like 2 or 3 picks before us, and he just blew up the USHL, I believe, the year before. And I said, why don't we just move up a couple spots to grab the kid?
Right.
But we never do. And I don't think a huge amount of teams do in the NHL. I'm not really sure why. I don't know what, like, if you have to give up to move up 3 spots, you have to give up a second round pick. That's stuff most of us don't know.
Right.
But I'd like to see the Wild, and hopefully Fenton will be a little bit more aggressive.
Is it because they're more? It's more like baseball, where they're a year or 2 away, so they don't want to give up a player asset that is already there, maybe, or something. I don't know. Like, they don't want to give up something for 2 or 3 years away. I don't know. It's interesting. I think that'd be a great question for Mr. Russo at one of the podcasts, but
yeah,
because I don't think it happens much. At least not what it happens in the NFL. Like, every year in the NFL, you hear this team's moving from here to here. There's all these rumors around about where they're moving to. And it just never seems to come to fruition.
Right.
But
I guess the other thing is, so first place, I'm a little worried about Cunnin, right? I mean, for 2 reasons. One, obviously, you don't want the kid to have a head injury at this age. I mean, I remember distinctly worrying about Granlund after his couple of head concussions early in his career. And, he's got to learn how to protect himself, and what's this going to do for his ability to move into traffic and whatever. But also, let's say he does have a concussion, is out for an extended period of time, and maybe even misses the playoffs as they make sure that he's right before they let him anywhere near the ice again. Well, I mean, and obviously this is just bad luck, but does that mean that wasn't he one of the guys that we papered down to Iowa so they'd be eligible for the AHL playoffs, and then had to use one of our precious 4 non-emergency call-ups? And I mean, given that we're now having to bump Reed back and forth on the emergency basis, I mean, again, can't be upset with Cunning. I'm not even upset about the play. It didn't seem like a dirty play at all. But it would just be bad luck that we would have used one of those 4 non-emergency call-ups on a player who was injured.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm almost 100% sure Cunnin was one of I believe it was Cunnin, Eck, and I want to say Donato were the 3 we used it on.
I know it was Cunnin and Donato. I don't know about...
It was either Eck or Greenway, but...
Yeah.
But regardless, it's Minnesota.
It's our luck.
I'm hoping some point in my life I can answer a bad luck question a different way, but just Minnesota is the way it is.
Mike, what were you going to say?
What's your guys' take on Dumba for the playoffs? Because even if we make the playoffs, unless he's 110%, I'd let him still stay out, because he is the future of our back end, in my opinion, and I would not risk anything if he's not 100% to go just to get him back for the first round. What do you guys think? Couldn't agree more.
Yep. Totally agree.
Could not agree anymore.
Especially because
there's no sense in it. But they will. They will play him if he comes back. It's going to be But yeah,
Does he make us a contender? No.
right.
So why risk next season?
I agree.
And then, but here's where the argument will come into play. Like Parisi, Suter, and Fenton and Leopold will say, "Well, we went into Tampa Bay and beat them 3-0 and dominated them without Dumba. So how are we not a contender?" Like, well, because the next night you went to Florida and got whooped. So,
yeah,
there you go. That's your comeback right there.
yeah,
but
yeah. Where are you guys with Dubnyk at this point? Tony, what do you think?
He's like the rest of the team, I think, where there's nights that you just go, holy cow, like what, we're getting a steal of a deal with this guy. You know, he's top, 4 in the league since we've got him when you look at just stats. And then there's nights when it's like, what do you mean you wouldn't have done anything different when the guy shot it through your armpit?
Right.
Like, I mean, yeah, he's just frustrating. Like, he is the same. My frustrations with the team are my frustrations with Dubnyk, right? Like, there's just nights he looks great, and then there's nights when I don't know what to do with him. And I mean, I think you try and find somebody through the draft. Hopefully, in 3 or 4 years, 2 or 3 years, whenever his contract's up, you have somebody in the waiting. You know?
Yeah, Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much in the same boat. I mean, I personally don't trust him. If you had a team that was going to try and go on a long cup run, I honestly probably wouldn't trust that he's going to be a goalie that can backstop 4 series for you. I worry about his inconsistency. He's either really good or he's really bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not often that he's just okay. He's normally either one or the other. But for the Wild, they don't. I mean, other than Kakinen, they have no one.
Right.
So I don't think, unless they can find some great college free agent goalie, and I think Russo's mentioned, I think they're going to try and look at a couple, but I don't think they have anyone that can step in right now for him other than him. So I think they're kind of stuck, personally.
Having been a bad goalie for the better part of a decade, I feel like I've been very protective of him, but I'm not protective of him anymore. I mean, this would have been a great season for him to steal a game or two here or there when they needed it. And he just doesn't steal games. I mean, he's either, like you said, he's either so solid that he doesn't have to make the crazy acrobatic save, or he's super leaky at the worst possible times. Well, neither of those scenarios equals great goalie, in my opinion. Like, he's got the stats, Tony, like you said, and obviously, and you can't argue with those stats, but I don't know how much of those is him stealing games. And if you're a good goalie but not a great goalie, when the team around you is playing well or better, that's one thing. But what I think what matters, the difference, the delta, is when you can rise up and steal a game when the team isn't having their best night, and he just doesn't do that.
Right. I worry about his I think he gets rattled, like when there's agitators, when there's people in front of him that are bumping him, kind of the playoff type hockey, right? When there's a lot of pushing and shoving around his crease, those are the games he seems to give up the squeaky one.
And once they start,
and that scares you. Yeah.
Yeah,
and again, my memory's terrible tonight, but I think that he's not necessarily cost us playoff series, but he hasn't won us one like Jake Allen did, right? And he hasn't gone toe to toe with, there's always, I remember a couple of the Chicago series where there was a couple goals where it was like, man, we'd really love to have had that one back. That could have changed the whole series if you make that one save. And I think that's probably would continue for the rest of our fandom cheering for Devin Dubnyk.
Yeah. How many years does he have? Does he have 2 years left?
2 more after this at 4.333.
I mean, that's a decent cap hit at least.
Yeah, for he's 32 now.
Yeah. 32.
So where's he gonna go? And well, first place he got the modified no trade, but I mean, who's going to trade for that?